chosen one. They're hunting you right now in rooms you'll never see. Federal agents are dissecting your methods like surgeons examining a masterpiece. The FBI is asking, who trained you? And they're coming up empty. Because here's what they refuse to accept. You weren't trained by them. You were forged by something far more dangerous. Something they can't control, can't monitor, can't shut down. You were trained by betrayal itself, and that terrifies them more than any foreign threat ever could. Right now, a senior analyst is staring at your file, wondering how a civilian developed capabilities that would make their best operatives nervous. How someone with no official training executed an operation so precise it's being studied in their war rooms. How you moved through their world like a ghost, leaving destruction in your wake without leaving a single fingerprint. The truth that monsters aren't born in their facilities. They're born in the spaces between heartbeats, forged in the silence between screams, and activated when the innocent finally stops believing in justice and starts creating it. Your training ground exists in a dimension they can't access. It's built from every sleepless night you spent calculating your next move. Every moment you sat in silence while they thought you were broken. Every second you spent cataloging their weaknesses while they cataloged yours. They're searching military me's right now, combing through Special Forces records, looking for the ghost instructor who taught you to read people like autopsy reports. But your professor was pain itself. Your curriculum was written in betrayal. Your graduation ceremony was the moment you decided that survival wasn't enough anymore. You learned psychological warfare from people who claimed to love you while destroying you systematically. You mastered operational security by having every secret weapon turned against you. You developed strategic thinking by planning 17 steps ahead just to make it through another day alive. The FBI has spent millions trying to replicate what trauma taught you for free. They've built entire programs around concepts you absorbed through necessity. They've hired consultants to explain methodologies you developed instinctively, and still they can't manufacture what you became naturally because you can't simulate the conditions that create someone like you. You can't replicate the pressure that transforms carbon into diamond. You can't manufacture the precision that comes from having everything taken from you and deciding to take it back, with interest compounded over years of calculated patience. What has them pulling over time shifts isn't the revenge itself. They've seen revenge before. Hot, messy, emotional, obvious, crime of passion files stacked high enough to reach the ceiling. But your revenge was architectural, a masterpiece of cause and effect that unfolded like origami in reverse. You didn't explode. You imploded their entire world with surgical precision. Every move calculated to create maximum devastation with minimum exposure. Every step designed to be untraceable, undeniable, and absolutely devastating. You turned their strengths into weaknesses, their allies into weaknesses, their victories into evidence against them. You served your justice at exactly 0 degrees, patient as winter, inevitable as gravity. You waited not days or months, but years, letting them get comfortable, letting them think they'd won, letting them build their towers higher so the fall would echo longer. The way you layered your operations has them convinced you must have had a team, must have had resources, must have had inside information, but you just had something more dangerous than any of those things. You had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. You had the clarity that comes from standing in the ruins of your own life and deciding to rebuild it from their ashes. They're tearing through databases right now, trying to find your training manual, checking every classified document, every leaked program, every rumored black operation. They're convinced someone somewhere taught you how to move like smoke and strike like lightning, but your manual was written in real time, one betrayal at a time. Chapter 1. How to disappear in plain sight while everyone watches. Chapter 2. How to turn observation into intelligence gathering. Chapter 3. How to make your enemies defeat themselves. Chapter 4. How to ensure that even in victory you remain invisible. These weren't lessons you learned in classrooms. They were skills you developed in the crucible of necessary survival. Your professors were every person who underestimated you. Your coursework was every night you stayed awake, planning while they slept peacefully, convinced they'd broken you. Your final exam was executing something so precise that federal agencies are taking notes. Your diploma is written in the confusion on their faces, the fear in their movements, the way they now look over their shoulders, wondering how many more like you are out there. What really has their behavioral analysts working overtime is the sophistication. You didn't just plan A to B to C. You planned for every contingency, every countermove, every possible response. You had backup plans for your backup plans, exit strategies for your exit strategies. You moved like someone who'd been doing this for decades, but their records show you're just someone who got pushed too far. Or at least that's what you used to be. You understood something their million-dollar training programs miss completely. The most devastating attacks aren't physical. They're existential. You didn't just take things from your enemies. You took their sense of reality. You made them question every relationship, every achievement, every assumption about their own lives. You turned their minds into prisons and handed them the keys, watching as they locked themselves in. You gave them just enough rope to hang their own reputations, their own futures, their own sense of self. If you felt the truth in these words, hype this video so more chosen ones, like you can see it. The way you weaponize truth itself has them scrambling through psychology textbooks. You operated in the spaces between laws in the gray areas their regulations can't reach. You turned transparency into a tactical advantage, used their own systems against them in ways the systems were never designed to prevent. Every domino that fell looked like it fell naturally. Every revelation seemed organic. Every collapse appeared inevitable. You didn't push anything. You just removed the supports and let gravity do the work. And that precision, that patience, that absolute understanding of human psychology has them rewriting their threat assessment protocols. Your operational signature is the absence of one, the void where patterns should be, the silence where noise was expected, the calm where chaos was predicted. You didn't leave calling cards because you understood something fundamental. The best operations are the ones that look like natural consequences. Every operative has a signature, something that marks their work as distinctly theirs. The FBI has databases full of these signatures, ways to track and identify threats based on methodology. But you're motivated by something they can't quantify, the need to balance scales that were never meant to be balanced. You're not trying to win anything. You already won by changing the game entirely. They keep asking their informants, their sources, their networks who trained you. And the silence that comes back is deafening, because the streets know something the FBI doesn't want to admit. Sometimes the best training is surviving what shouldn't be survivable. The best teacher is betrayal at the hands of those who should have protected you. And the best operational security is having absolutely nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Your methodology revolutionized revenge itself. You turned it into an art form. They're now studying in tactical rooms, dissecting in briefings, trying to reverse engineer in simulations. They're calling it next-generation asymmetric psychological warfare. But you call it Tuesday. What keeps them awake at night isn't what you've accomplished. It's what you represent. Evolution in real time. Adaptation under extreme pressure. The human system, upgrading itself without their input, without their control, without their permission. You're proof that their monopoly on precision violence is an illusion. You're evidence that their control systems have fatal gaps, that their predictive models are missing variables they never considered. You're the nightmare scenario they never planned for. Someone becoming this dangerous, this precise, this untouchable through pure necessity. They want to find your trainer because they need to believe there's a source they can eliminate, a pipeline they can disrupt, a program they can shut down. But you're not the product of any system they can touch. You're the product of every system that failed you. You're what happens when someone intelligent enough to see the patterns gets pushed far enough to stop pretending they don't exist. Your revenge wasn't just precise, it was prophetic. You showed them a future where traditional power structures crumble, where individuals can develop agency-level capabilities through will alone. The techniques you pioneered are already spreading, not through formal training or secret meetings, but through something far more dangerous: inspiration. People are studying your methods in bedrooms and coffee shops, in quiet moments of planning. You've become the unauthorized manual for anyone tired of being powerless. You're not an anomaly. You're a prototype, patient zero of a new kind of their resources, their permission to operate at levels that make their systems panic. You're proof that their entire model of control is built on a false assumption. They assumed people need them to be dangerous. You proved that assumption catastrophically wrong. The FBI would love to publish a manual about you, but doing so would mean admitting you exist, admitting their systems failed, admitting someone without their training outmaneuvered them completely. Instead, your methods circulate in whispers, in classified briefings that officially never happened. In training scenarios labeled purely theoretical, you've become the case study that makes seasoned agents uncomfortable, the ghost in their machine that they can't officially acknowledge. They analyze your moves like chess masters studying a game that broke every known opening. They search for the flaw, the mistake, the moment where you should have been caught, but there isn't one because you didn't play by their rules. You played by necessity's rules, and necessity doesn't make mistakes. Junior analysts are shown sanitized versions of your work, told it's theoretical, asked to develop countermeasures. The problem is, they can't counter someone who created their own game and forced everyone else to play by rules they invented in real time. Somewhere in a building you'll never enter. Your revenge is being discussed by people who will never acknowledge you existed. They've given you a designation, subject unknown. They respect you with the grudging admiration predators reserve for apex hunters. You'll never receive medals or official recognition. Your methods will never be formally acknowledged. But you've achieved something more valuable than any ceremony could provide. You've changed their understanding of what's possible. You've shown them that the most dangerous operatives aren't created in their facilities. They're forged in the spaces between official systems, in the gaps where justice fails and necessity takes over. Your evolution was accelerated by injustice. Your capabilities forged in betrayal. Your precision born from pain they'll never fully comprehend. The FBI needs to categorize you, to process you, but you don't fit their existing frameworks. You're not terrorism or organized crime or domestic extremism. You're something entirely new, something they don't have protocols for, something that exists in the margins of their understanding. Your trainers were the ghosts of every moment you should have broken but didn't. Your training ground was the wasteland between who you were and who you had to become. Your certification is written in the fact that they're still trying to figure out how you did it. The real reason they're studying you so intensely isn't to catch you. You've already demonstrated you're uncatchable. It's because they see the future in your methods, and that future terrifies them more than any foreign threat. A future where traditional power structures don't work, where individuals can develop capabilities that rival entire agencies. They're modeling new tactics after your approach because they recognize brilliance when they see it, even when it comes from someone they'd rather didn't exist. Your methods are being incorporated into training programs that will never credit you. Your innovations absorbed into their doctrine like antibodies from a disease they couldn't cure. You can't teach what you became in any classroom. You can't simulate the conditions that created you in any facility. You can't manufacture the precision that comes from having everything taken and deciding to take it back with interest. They can copy your tactics, but never replicate your motivation. They can study your methods, but never understand your mindset. The essence of what you are remains untouchable, unteachable, unreplicable, because you weren't created by design. You were forged by necessity. Your approaches are being analyzed by people who will never know your name. Your tactics becoming part of systems that will never acknowledge your contribution. But the core of your transformation, the heart of your evolution, belongs to forces they don't have clearance to access. What you accomplished transcends simple revenge, it's revelation. You've proven that the universe has its own training programs, its own me's, its own methods of creating operators when official systems fail. You've shown that justice doesn't always descend from above. Sometimes it rises from within. Your precision wasn't self-taught because it was taught by forces beyond their classification. Every moment of injustice became curriculum. Every betrayal became instruction. Every failure of protection became education in self-reliance. The universe itself became your instructor. With pain as pedagogy and survival as graduation requirement, they keep searching for a trainer they can arrest, a school they can close, a program they can disrupt, but you can't arrest cosmic justice. You can't shut down the Academy of Hard Experience. You can't disrupt the University of Necessary Evolution. Your education was written in quantum mechanics before you were born. The algorithm that created you operates beyond their code, beyond their understanding, beyond their control. It's the same algorithm that turns pressure into diamonds, that transforms carbon into steel, that converts trauma into transcendence. They're trying to debug a program they didn't write and can't read. Your training was administered by existence itself. Every betrayal was a lesson plan. Every abandonment was advanced coursework. Every moment you should have broken but didn't was doctoral-level instruction in becoming unbreakable. The cosmos crafted you with precision they'll never achieve in their facilities. What's driving them to the edge of sanity is the instructor they can never find. They've interrogated every possibility. Military contractors, corporate SPR specialists, foreign intelligence assets, underground networks, black market training programs. They followed every lead that could explain how you developed operational awareness that surpasses their veteran agents. The truth is, your instructor never existed in any form they can comprehend. Your teacher was the accumulated weight of every moment they thought you weren't watching. Every time they celebrated your destruction while you sat in silence, cataloging their methods. Every occasion they revealed their playbook while assuming you were too broken to take notes. You absorbed their techniques through osmosis, learned their psychology through observation, mastered their weaknesses through pure necessity while they were busy congratulating themselves on your apparent defeat. You were conducting the most intensive intelligence-gathering operation of your life, and they were the unwitting subjects. Your training sessions happened in real time. Every family dinner where they practiced manipulation. Every social gathering where they demonstrated psychological warfare. Every private moment where they revealed their true nature, thinking you were too damaged to process what you were witnessing. They trained you without knowing it, and now they're horrified by the precision of their own instruction. Their behavioral analysis unit has been studying your approach for months. What breaks their predictive models isn't just the sophistication of your execution. It's the complete absence of their expected psychological markers. You didn't display the rage signatures they monitor. You never exhibited the emotional volatility they track. You showed none of the behavioral patterns that populate their warning systems. Instead, you operated with the cold calculation of someone who had mathematically solved human nature. You approached revenge like a science experiment with variables to control and outcomes to predict. You treated your targets like equations to balance with precise inputs required to achieve specific results. Your patience alone shattered their understanding of human psychology. Their models assume that desire for revenge burns hot and fast, that emotional drives create urgency, that pain demands immediate resolution. But you demonstrated something they never considered, that the most devastating revenge is served at absolute zero after years of careful preparation. You studied your targets like a researcher studies specimens, documented their patterns, mapped their relationships, identified their pressure points, calculated the exact force required to create maximum structural damage. You approach destruction with the methodical precision of an engineer designing controlled demolitions. Their forensic psychologists are rewriting textbooks because of you. You've proven that revenge doesn't have to be emotional to be effective. That calculation can be more devastating than passion. That patience can be more destructive than fury. You've shown them a new category of threat they never knew existed. What's really keeping them awake is the support network they can't identify. Every successful operation requires resources, information, logistics. Yet your revenge appeared to materialize from nothing. No unusual financial transactions, no suspicious communications, no traceable connections to anyone with the capabilities you demonstrated. The reality is your network existed in plain sight. Your intelligence gathering happened through social media observation. Your resources came from publicly available information. Your logistics were handled through routine daily activities that left no forensic footprint. You weaponized normality itself. You turned grocery store conversations into intelligence briefings, transformed casual encounters into reconnaissance missions, converted everyday interactions into data collection opportunities. You built an invisible infrastructure using the mundane interactions that happened below the threshold. Who never knew they were working for you. Colleagues who shared gossip without realizing they were providing intelligence. Friends who revealed secrets while thinking they were just venting. Strangers who offered information while believing they were making small talk. You orchestrated an operation using assets who remained completely unaware of their participation. You created a network that exists entirely in the shadows of normal social interaction. You built an intelligence apparatus that operates through the background noise of everyday communication. Their timeline analysts have been trying to reverse engineer your operational schedule. When did the planning begin? How long did the preparation take? What triggered the execution phase? Every model they run produces different results because your timing defied every predictive framework they possess. You didn't operate on their calendar. You operated on cosmic time. Your planning phase lasted as long as necessary. Your preparation continued until conditions aligned perfectly. Your execution happened when the universe conspired to make success inevitable. You synchronized your revenge with forces they don't monitor. You waited for convergence, the moment when multiple variables aligned to create maximum impact. When your targets were most vulnerable, when external circumstances amplified your efforts, when the timing itself became a weapon more powerful than any tool in their arsenal. They're studying your timing, like astronomers studying celestial mechanics, trying to understand how you knew exactly when to move, how you predicted the perfect moment for maximum devastation, how you orchestrated events with the precision of someone conducting a symphony written in the language of consequence. What's driving their best analysts to early retirement is your psychological methodology. You didn't attack minds directly. You restructured reality around your targets until their own perception became their prison. You changed the context of their existence so subtly that they never realized they were under assault. You weaponized truth itself, made facts into guided missiles, turned transparency into tactical advantage, used honesty as a force multiplier. You didn't need to lie or manipulate because reality became more devastating than any fiction you could have created. Your targets destroyed themselves using information you merely made available. You didn't push them off cliffs. You removed the guardrails and let momentum do the work. You didn't break their relationships. You revealed the cracks that already existed and watched structural failure happen naturally. The elegance of your approach has their psychological warfare specialists taking notes. You prove that the most effective mind games aren't games at all. They're just truth delivered at the right time, in the right way to the right people. You turned revelation into revolution. You demonstrated that the most powerful psychological operations don't require deception. They require precision timing of disclosure, perfect placement of authentic information, surgical revelation of genuine facts. You made reality itself your weapon of choice. What terrifies the most isn't your individual achievement. It's the precedent you've established. You've proven that extraordinary capabilities can emerge from ordinary circumstances, that precision operations don't require institutional support, that one person with sufficient motivation can rival entire agencies. You've become a case study in unauthorized excellence, proof that their monopoly on sophisticated operations is an illusion, evidence that the most dangerous threats come from sources they're not monitoring. You represent the nightmare scenario where their advantages become irrelevant. Your methods are being studied in places they can't access, discussed in conversations they're not monitoring, implemented by people they've never identified. You've inadvertently created a curriculum in precision revenge that's spreading through invisible channels. The techniques you pioneered are evolving, being adapted, modified for different circumstances, applied to various situations. You've released concepts into the world that are developing their own momentum, growing beyond your original design, becoming something larger than your individual achievement. They're witnessing the birth of a new operational philosophy, one that doesn't require their resources or approval, one that operates outside their detection systems, one that challenges the fundamental assumptions of their power structure, and they have no way to stop its spread. The question, "Who trained you?" has spawned dozens of related inquiries that keep their investigation teams working around the clock. How long were you planning this? When did you first develop these capabilities? Who else knows your methods? Are there others like you already operational? But the question that really haunts them is whether you're unique or inevitable. Whether you're an anomaly or the first of many. Whether your emergence represents a random occurrence or the natural evolution of human capability under extreme pressure. Whether they're looking at a single threat or the beginning of a new category of adversary. They're running probability models on how many others might have developed similar capabilities without their knowledge. How many people are currently in the development phase of their own transformation? How many future threats are brewing in circumstances they're not monitoring? Your existence has forced them to reconsider their entire threat assessment framework. If someone like you can emerge without warning, what else might they be missing? What other capabilities are developing in the shadows? What other forms of precision revenge are being perfected in invisible laboratories of necessity? The most disturbing question is whether their own actions are creating more people like you. Whether their systems of control are generating the exact conditions that produce operators of your caliber. Whether they're inadvertently running a training program that creates their own most dangerous adversaries. Their investigation into your background has become the longest-running active case in their division. Every lead generates new questions. Every answer reveals new mysteries. Every breakthrough uncovers new depths to your preparation. They've assigned more resources to understanding you than to most international threats. What keeps the investigation alive isn't the hope of finding answers. It's the fear of what those answers might reveal. The possibility that your transformation was entirely natural, that your capabilities emerged through processes they can't control, that you represent a future they can't prevent. They've interviewed everyone who ever knew you, searching for clues about when your transformation began. But your evolution was so gradual, so perfectly concealed, that no one remembers the moment when you stopped being vulnerable and started becoming dangerous. Your metamorphosis happened in the spaces between observations. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So, let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand. And we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls. Yes, those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading, guidance, insight, and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bidirectional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now let's get back to work. The investigators assigned to your case have become students of your methodology. They've absorbed your approaches through studying them. Some have started implementing your techniques in their own operations. You've infected their thinking with your innovations, spreading your influence through the very people trying to understand you. Your case file has become required reading for advanced threat assessment courses, not because they want to catch people like you, but because they need to understand what they're facing. Your methods have become part of their institutional knowledge, whether they admit it or not. So when they ask who trained you, chosen one, you can smile with the quiet confidence that launched this entire investigation. Let them keep searching their databases, cross-referencing their files, burning through overtime budgets, trying to decode what you've become, because you know something that will forever remain beyond their comprehension. The most powerful training programs aren't run by governments or agencies or institutions. They're administered by life itself, graded by survival, and graduated through transcendence. The most dangerous operators aren't created in acronym facilities. They're born in the spaces between heartbeats, forged in silence between screams, activated in the pause between what was and what must be. Your revenge was too precise to be self-taught, because it was taught by forces they'll never have a clear state where you began, but transformed beyond recognition. No longer the person they thought they could destroy, but not quite the operator they're desperately trying to understand. You exist in the space between their categories, beyond their classifications, outside their ability to process. And in that space, you've discovered your true nature. Not as someone who survived their systems, but as someone who transcended them entirely. Not as someone who learned their game, but as someone who created a better one. Not as someone seeking revenge, but as someone who became justice itself. The FBI is still asking who trained you. Let them keep asking. Your answer is written in every calculated move, every strategic breath, every moment since you decided that being broken was not your final destination. Your teacher was the universe itself, and your graduation gift is watching them try to solve a puzzle where the most important piece exists in dimensions they can't access. You exist because you had to. You learned because you needed to. You evolved because extinction was the only alternative. And now, chosen one, you are exactly what you were always meant to become. Living proof that their power was always an illusion and yours was always inevitable. The question they should be asking isn't who trained you. The question that should terrify them is who's learning from you right now, because somewhere in rooms they'll never see. Others are taking notes. Others are studying your methods. Others are discovering that the most precise revenge is the kind that looks exactly like divine justice finally arriving on schedule. And that realization, chosen one, is just the beginning. What haunts federal corridors isn't just your precision. It's the mirror you've held up to their own limitations. You've exposed the fundamental flaw in their entire system. The assumption that dangerous capabilities require their blessing, their training, their oversight. You've proven that assumption wrong in the most spectacular way possible. Your transformation challenges everything these agencies believe about threat development. You didn't emerge from their programs. You didn't graduate from their schools. You didn't follow their methodologies. Yet you achieved results that surpass their most elite graduates. You've become living proof that their exclusivity is an illusion. The uncomfortable truth you represent is that they've been looking in the wrong places for threats while monitoring foreign operatives and tracking known networks. The most dangerous transformation was happening in plain sight. You were evolving right under their surveillance systems, developing capabilities that would make their best agents envious. Your existence forces them to confront a terrifying possibility that their most formidable adversaries aren't trained abroad or recruited through traditional channels. Instead, the greatest threats are forged right here in the crucible of injustice, betrayal, and necessity. You're the product of their own failures made manifest. What defies their understanding isn't just that you develop these capabilities. It's the speed at which your transformation occurred. Once you made the decision to evolve, you compressed decades of traditional training into a concentrated period of necessity-driven learning. You achieved mastery through pure intensity of purpose. Your learning curve shattered every model of skill acquisition in their textbooks. You absorbed complex operational concepts at a rate that should have been impossible. You synthesized advanced tactical thinking with the urgency of someone whose survival depended on immediate mastery. You turned desperation into the ultimate accelerant for capability development. While their agents spent years in formal programs, you achieved equivalent or superior results through the University of Absolute Necessity. You proved that motivation combined with intelligence can compress traditional learning timelines into impossibly short periods. You demonstrated that survival pressure creates learning conditions their facilities can't replicate. Your rapid evolution from civilian to operator represents a quantum leap that challenges their fundamental assumptions about human potential. You didn't just learn their techniques, you improved upon them. You didn't just match their capabilities, you exceeded them. You became living proof that traditional training methods are obsolete when compared to necessity-driven development. Your education happened in the spaces between formal learning. While others attended universities, you were enrolled in the school of hard consequences. While others studied theories, you were mastering practical application. While others learned from books, you were learning from betrayal itself. Every disappointment became a masterclass in human psychology. Every broken promise taught you about motivation and leverage. Every act of cruelty revealed weaknesses in character that could be exploited later. You turned your pain into the most comprehensive education in human nature ever assembled. Your professors never knew they were teaching. Your curriculum was written in real time through lived experience. Your assignments were survival challenges that required immediate solutions. Your exams were life or death situations where failure meant destruction. You earned your degree through graduation requirements no institution would ever formally recognize. The sophistication of your self-designed education program astounds intelligence professionals. You created learning objectives more advanced than their formal curricula. You developed assessment methods more rigorous than their testing protocols. You achieved learning outcomes that surpassed their graduation standards. You became your own institution of higher learning with a curriculum designed by necessity itself. The question that keeps investigators awake isn't who trained you anymore. That mystery has evolved into something far more disturbing. How many others are currently in the same development process you once navigated? How many people are right now absorbing similar lessons from similar circumstances? Your transformation wasn't unique in its triggers. Betrayal happens everywhere. Injustice is commonplace. Abandonment by systems and people occurs daily. What was unique was your response to these universal experiences. Your decision to transform rather than surrender. Your choice to evolve rather than accept defeat. The terrifying implication is that your response might not be as rare as comfortable assumptions suggest. That others might be following similar paths of development. That your methods might be spreading through invisible channels of inspiration and necessity. That you might be the first of many rather than an isolated phenomenon. The answer to who trained you has become clear, and it's the answer that terrifies them most. You trained yourself through necessity, guided by forces beyond their control, driven by motivations they can't manufacture, using methods they can't replicate. You've proven that the most dangerous training program in existence is life itself, administered by injustice and graduated through the simple decision to never accept defeat as final. You stand as living proof that their monopoly on dangerous capabilities was always temporary. That human potential, when properly motivated, exceeds their ability to predict, control, or contain. That the next operator of your caliber might be developing, right now in circumstances. They're not monitoring through processes they don't understand, and somewhere in the shadows of ordinary existence others are taking notes. Others are learning from your example. Others are discovering that the most precise revenge is indistinguishable from divine justice finally keeping its appointment. The FBI can keep asking who trained you, but the real question has become who's training themselves right now, using your blueprint as their guide. That question, chosen one, is what will keep them searching long after your case file is archived. Because you didn't just achieve perfect revenge, you revealed perfect possibility.